Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom. I'm Jason Lupo, sitting here with my co-host today, Aaron
Good
Lujan,
morning, Jason.
and our special guest today, CEO of True North Restoration, Dan Peak.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to be talking about grounding. But before we do that, I want to give Dan a minute to talk about what it is that his business does. Dan, go ahead and take it away. What is it that True North Restoration does, and how can we get a hold of you?
True North Restoration is a restoration contractor. And so, what does that mean? We specialize in cleanup services for when disaster strikes. Our motto is when your life heads south, we want you to head to True North. There's a lot of different restoration contractors out there in the community. We are separating ourselves by saying, hey, we are IICRC certified. People go, well, what is that? It's the standard in the industry for what we do. It means that we have gone through the training and we follow a guideline. That way, everything's above reproach. We work with insurance carriers. Every insurance carrier is different. Not a lot of people know that. The guidelines for one carrier could be completely different for another carrier. And we're just trained in doing all those types of services. We're emergency response, like Easter Sunday. I was in my Sunday best, ready to go take the whole family, and I get a phone call, and I go, "Oh, nope, I have to change back into clothes."
This man is telling the truth because I was at his house on Easter Sunday and he was not home, and he came into the house probably 30 minutes later because his wife had him out there working hard. So
Yeah,
True North is a real deal, guys.
yeah. My wife does. She gets me a lot of jobs and gets me moving. I participate a lot with actually doing some of the work. And so I think that's kind of what separates us. We're a community driven restoration contractor for the community. Um, Tons of stories I could tell on restoration work, just like the horror stories of sewage backups. A lot of those have been happening.
Sounds crappy. Ha 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 ha.
And mold galore. Lots of mold in Colorado. Not a lot of people are aware of. People think because we're so dry, we won't have the mold that we would have like down in more humid climates, but in fact, we do. It's just about the conditions, and if the conditions are right, mold is in the air everywhere at all times. It's supposed to be there to break down dead organic matter, and our homes are built out of dead organic matter.
Yeah.
You got paper in the drywall, and you have studs, you have lots of particle board, all that stuff. If it got wet and no one really truly dried it out, mold's activated. It takes a little command and says, "Yes, sir, I'll get to work right away."
Dan, let me ask you. So, what are the top three most common reasons people call you if there are a top three?
The number one would be, oh no, we had a leak, like a storm
Okay.
caused a flood in the basement, or a pipe burst, or
What?
the sewage got backed up and it came into my house.
Okay.
That type of work is the top. We also specialize in asbestos abatement.
Okay.
And so we have licensing and certification with the state for that. And sometimes people don't realize their home has asbestos.
Right.
It was outlawed in 1978. But with that being said, that's when the EPA said you can't manufacture it, not, build it.
Right.
So a lot of stuff all the way into like the late 80s can have it sometimes, and not a lot of people know that. So
But we're gonna talk about grounding, and we have the perfect person, right?
We have the perfect person. I mean, I didn't know Dan Peak was such an expert on free radicals, but I feel like we should give me 1 second, just because I want to leave our listeners with some tip, right? So if a homeowner were to find a leak in their house, what is the first thing that they should do to make sure that they limit the damage?
stop the leak. That's number one. Is what is the leak? Is it a pipe? Well, then call a plumber out there and get that water turned off. And if you can't get access to a plumber, this is the number one way. Every single home has a water shutoff valve, and no one knows about it, and no one knows where it's located. It will be located next to wherever your water meter is at. You have a water meter that's on the outside of your home that gives a reading to CSU. And then you'll have an actual little meter inside your home, usually in your basement, usually around your furnace or your hot water heater. And there's a red, typically red valve, and it'll either be vertical or it'll be horizontal. And you can quickly just shut that off. So if you don't know what a water shutoff valve looks like, you can Google it, you can YouTube it, and there'll be tons of resources out there for your common homeowner to go, oh, let's stop the water from continuing by simply shutting it off. And then let's call someone to come, like myself, you know, get it sucked up, get it dried, and we start sucking all the water out of the materials and the air.
All right. So we're gonna shift over to this idea of grounding. Aaron, do you want to take us away? What is grounding?
Grounding, also called earthing, is the practice of making direct physical contact with the earth's surface, like walking barefoot on grass, sand, or soil, to absorb its natural electrical charge. Proponents claim it has numerous health benefits, including reducing inflammation, improving sleep, balancing cortisol levels, enhancing circulation, and reducing stress and anxiety. So the theory is that the Earth's electrons neutralize free radicals in the body, acting as natural antioxidants. And obviously, Dan Peake has established himself as the resident expert on remediation, but he's also the resident expert on free radicals and how this all works. So, Dan, can you inform us and enlighten us? What does that all mean, man?
I don't know, but you made my head hurt when you said all that. So I'm gonna have to take a moment
You can blame artificial
and
intelligence.
ground myself.
You gotta ground your brain.
Yes.
Okay.
All things are made up of atoms, right? That's science 101. But even Bill Nye will tell you that, right?
Bill Nye, the science guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
And
Better trust the science.
he did. He said a lot of things,
Yeah.
and
That's a different story for
that is a different story for a different day. But what we do know is that yes, all things are made of matter, and matter is made up of atoms. And atoms have a nucleus, and they have an electron, and they have protons. They have all these things that are zipping around them. And the electrons need to be balanced. If they're not balanced, then it's called a free radical. You ever hear of radiation?
Yes, it happens to me at the hospital.
And when you go on an airplane ride.
Yeah.
And so radiation, everyone gets freaked out about. I saw the movie about Chernobyl that was on HBO.
Yeah, that was actually, I saw parts of it. It was really good.
And that was really like, oh, like this moment where you're like, what is radiation? Well, it's a bunch of free radicals. The electrons are actually shooting off of the atoms at such high speeds. They're like bullets.
Yeah.
And then they're smashing into all the other atoms around them. And they're literally causing atoms to just like degrade. So the guys that were running in, the firefighters, they had the worst of that experience. And within a few days, their bodies are literally falling apart in the hospital. And there's nothing anyone can do for them because so much damage had already occurred. It was like free radicals to the most extent that a human can endure. And so, but we also can have free radicals just from simply doing things like using bleach, like that's a toxic material. Your body can't process it, and it's a free radical.
Well, I want to park there because are you saying that the environment, the microplastics, perhaps maybe the metals are contributing to this problem, like just our household products and the natural environment, the modern environment?
Yeah. So what I've looked into is because with True North Restoration, we use a lot of different chemicals, and I'm always concerned about myself and my workers and the people that we're in the homes for, right? Like they're always asking about, is this safe? Is that safe? What's safe?
Right.
And so it just took me down a rabbit hole of, what is safe? And what you can basically come up against is the fact that if your body doesn't know how to process it, it's toxic. And so your body's trying to figure out what to do with this. One example would be asbestos.
Yes.
So asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral that's found in the earth.
Yeah.
But when we get it into our bodies don't know, they can't get rid of it.
Foreign agent.
It's a foreign agent, and it doesn't even know how to expel it out of your system, which is why it is a known carcinogen.
Sure.
It's why they have all the laws on it. Because they're like, hey, for a fact, if you get this in your body, it's there forever.
Right.
And so we have to regulate it. And so there's that varying degree, and then there's like the low level degree of like mold. Mold's another toxin. So you get mold into your body, and you're like, oh no, I'm toxic with the mold. Well, I've done some basic research and for myself, and I go, oh, there's herbs I can take, and I can go to the sauna and I can sweat. And I know that when I like poke my head up into an attic and people go, I think I have mold up in here. And I poke my head up in there and it's like covered in mold. I'm like, oh gosh, I breathed in all this stuff. Like I didn't put a mask on for the second that I poked my head up into here. I'll get a reaction and I will start feeling foggy headed. I'll start feeling like I have a little mild headache and I immediately go to the gym and I sweat and I feel great afterwards.
That's incredible.
Yeah, because the body was going, hey, you don't belong here. Let's get you out of here. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll push you out through your sweat. And
Wow.
so there's different varying degrees of free radicals and toxins and all these different things. And uh, so if you can get free radicals in the cheapest way possible, it's called earthing or grounding, where the earth has electrons to give.
So I buy all that. It sounds incredible. I know that God's intelligent design is mind numbing to say it at worst. But how do you do that practically? We live in Colorado. Does that mean just get barefoot when you go camping? Like, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
There's a couple different things, but before we even get into that, did you even hear about the modern movement behind earthing? Like how
Oh, let's get into that first.
okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, there's a documentary out there that you can watch. It's called Earthing. And the creator of this movement was actually a software development guy. And he had a presentation he had to give at a big convention. So he's under lots of stress and pressure, and he's like, okay, I just got to make sure everything's ready for my presentation. I want to impress everyone. I'm the CEO of my company, and he can't get his software to work.
Oh,
And he's freaking out. And he's up in his hotel room, like, oh, why isn't it? It's supposed to load, it's supposed to process, and it's not. And he's doing everything he knows how to do because he literally made the software
sure.
and he can't get it to work. And he just takes a step back in frustration and he walks away and he comes back and he looks and he's like, oh, wait a second. My computer is plugged into the wall and the wall doesn't have a ground. I had to do that little goofy adapter thing. And it's probably got static buildup.
Mm.
Takes the computer out of the room, goes down the hall, finds a little spot that has the ground, plugs it in, tries the software. Everything's perfect.
Wow.
In an instant. It solved all of his problems. So he goes on and he gives the presentation and it's a hit. And, I can't remember all the details.
Raised 100 million in financing.
Yeah, probably something crazy like that. So then he comes out and he's now waiting to go to the airport. And he's sitting waiting for his cab. And he notices a big senior citizen bus stops off, probably because he's in Vegas or something like that, some kind of convention thing. And he's watching all these senior citizens kind of, they're older and they're, you can tell that they're inflammation and pain, their joints don't work. And he's also noticing they all had those really white New Balance sneakers.
You have to if you're a boomer.
You do have to.
Uniform.
And he's going, oh man, as comfortable as those shoes are, I wonder if they're insulating us from the earth. And he goes, I wonder what would happen if I started doing experiments on just touching the ground and grounding us because we're full of energy.
He was making connections between energy and the ground.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And so he began. He had the money to. So they have in the beginning of that movie, there is an elderly woman in her 60s to 70s, and she gets a blood sample, and they look at her blood, and all the cells are clumped together.
Yeah.
And they go, okay, we take off your shoes, go outside, stand on the ground for 5 minutes, come back in. We're going to take another blood sample. We're going to look at it. She does that 5 minutes. That's it. They look at the blood sample, and every single cell is now spaced evenly and perfectly apart, which immediately will reduce inflammation because the Bible says that life is in the blood. And so if life is in fact in the blood, which we know it is, and if it is malfunctioned in any way, especially if for thousands and thousands of years we've as humans been sleeping on the ground, walking on the ground, not having anything to isolate us from the ground, maybe we're supposed to be that way. Maybe
Yeah.
it's a design, and we're supposed to be doing something like that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So I pulled up a literary review article. This from this titled "Electric Nutrition: The Surprising Health and Healing Benefits of Biological Grounding, Earthing." This is written by 4 individuals, all with some pretty heavy credentials here: Steven Sinatra, MD, is an assistant clinical professor of medicine at School of Medicine, University of Connecticut in Farmington, Connecticut. James Oshman, president of Nature's Own Research Association in Dover, New Hampshire. Gayton Chevalier, PhD, is a visiting scholar, Department of Family Medicine and Public Health, School of Medicine at University of California, San Diego. And Drew Sinatra is a naturopathic doctor of integrative medicine at Clear Center for Health in Mill Valley, California. The context that they put here: modern biomedicine has discovered that many of the most debilitating diseases, as well as the aging process itself, are caused by or associated with chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. Emerging research has revealed that direct physical contact with the surface of the planet generates a kind of electric nutrition with surprisingly potent and rapid anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. If we go down to the conclusion, which, by the way, there's some really cool things in this article. You can find it on scholar.google.com. Conclusion: new research indicates that grounding the body generates broad, beneficial, and significant physiological changes. The source of these effects is believed to be the mobile electrons omnipresent on the surface of the Earth, which are responsible for the planet's negative charge. Lifestyle changes have disconnected most humans from this primordial health and healing resource, creating what may be an unrecognized electron deficiency in the body, an overlooked cause or contributor to chronic inflammation and common chronic and degenerative diseases. When Earth connection is restored through grounding, electrons flood throughout the body, reducing inflammation and oxidative stress, while also reinforcing the body's own defense mechanisms. Electron transfers are the basis of virtually all antioxidant and anti-inflammatory activity, and Earth may very well be the ultimate supplier. When the supply is restored, humans have the potential to thrive. I wanted to bring up some sort of medical review. That way, those listening on didn't think that we were absolutely just insane.
Well, I also have a lot of believers on, and I want to briefly bring up some scriptural backing. If you go back to Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, then the Lord God formed man of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. This shows that we have some sort of intrinsic connection. We literally come from the dirt of the earth. It's our birthplace. It's our original ingredients. So I almost feel like there's this connection in scripture. In Exodus 3:5, Moses was commanded to walk barefoot before God, indicating a sacred connection between the body and the earth. And then in Ezekiel 47:12, their fruit will be for food and their leaves for healing, associating nature with restoration. And then in John 9:6, when he had said this, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle and applied the clay to his eyes. This is when he was giving the man his sight back. So, and then in Psalm 104:14, he causes the grass to grow for the cattle and vegetation for the labor of man, so that they may bring forth food from the earth. Earth is designed to nourish and sustain human life. So I think those verses illustrate the spiritual principle that God has us connected to the earth, that it can be healing, and that earthly elements can be used for restoration. Would you agree with all that, or do you think I'm stretching this?
I'm not. What, you ever go to the beach?
Try to at least a couple times a year.
Every time I've ever been to the beach in my entire life, I remember it. Don't you?
I don't know if I remember every time, but definitely,
You have a great feeling.
there's a huge sensory experience.
You're like,
Oh yeah.
going to the river, putting your feet into
Is that the Coors Light or is that the water? No, I'm just joking.
No, but like we go up to 11 Mile, and you have what's that? The Platte.
Yeah.
All the time we go up to the Platte. Every single day I go up to the Platte and I put my feet in that water. I mean, I feel charged after that. Don't you?
You're right. I was at Poudre River last summer, and I was in the river pretty much for hours on end, and I definitely felt different afterwards. That is true.
You're way more relaxed. You have a euphoric kind of like connection to nature. Like you're enjoying yourself immensely.
Yeah.
The days that I spend around water with my, shoes off, walking on the earth, laying out in the sun, like that charges me up. Like I feel so relaxed. I never feel stressed. I'm never like, that was a stupid decision. I wish I would have did something else. Like, no, you're always like, that was a great day.
You never leave it disappointed or
Never.
frustrated.
Never.
Yeah. No, that's
Well, I mean, unless something catastrophic happens, like
Yeah.
fish hook in the eye. Like,
or your wife calls, I got you a job that I found on Facebook.
oh, you react. Yeah. Are you having a great day? Yeah. Well, that's fine. And you know what? That's what you got to do when you do what I do. It comes with the territory.
How do people get a hold of you?
They can contact us at 719-204-3602. Again, that's 719-204-3602.
Website?
Is cos.gotruenorth.com.
cos.gotruenorth.com.
Yep.
Got it. Very cool. Jason, you got anything to add over there, brother?
Yeah, we're going to go to a brief timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk about one more thing, and then we're going to close it up for the day. So hang out with us for 60 seconds.
Hashtag one more thing.
Welcome back to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom. I'm Jason Lupo with my co-host today, Aaron Lujan.
Howdy there.
And our special guest, Dan Peak.
Hello.
We're going to finish off with this article. Doctors reveal the hateful 8 seed oils that could harm your health. This is an article out of Fox News from Ashley DeMella. Americans are becoming more cognizant of the ingredients in their food amid the Make America Healthy Again movement. Seed oils, which are plant-based cooking oils that are often used in processed packaged foods, have been touted by Health and Human Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as unknowingly poisoning Americans. Any oil that comes from seeds is classified as a seed oil, but that also includes some that are beneficial, such as sesame seed oil, peanut oil, and flax oils, according to board-certified family physician Kate Shanahan, MD, who is based in Florida. Shanahan, who specializes in using traditional food to promote health and reverse disease, shared with Fox News Digital which seed oils should be avoided. I had to create a term that described the harmful oils in our food supply, the hateful 8 seed oils, or the hateful 8 oils, she said. Those 8 oils include corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, and grapeseed. There are several factors that make these 8 specific oils unhealthy, according to Shanahan. The process to extract the oil is not selectively bred to yield their own oil easily, she noted. It requires high heat and pressure, leading to the presence of a neurotoxin called hexane. Oils contain polyunsaturated fatty acids, which can break down and turn into toxins during the heating process, according to Shanahan. So, more news coming out of the Maha movement.
Mahahaha.
The American public starting to wake up to the idea that maybe everything that we've claimed to be safe in our food is not really safe.
True that.
So, those 8 oils, once again, if you want to look in your cupboards: corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, and grapeseed.
But you know why, right? You said it, but just to clarify, and this goes back to everything we were just talking about. It's because the seed oil is difficult to access, and only in modern times did we figure out how to even extract oil out of these. So you just go back to the notion of if we've been having it for thousands of years, our bodies are able to process it because it's had time to figure it out. Your olive oil, your avocado oil, just all those oils. Like, oil in itself isn't bad. It's just the fact that when we're grabbing things with modern technology and concentrating them in a way we've never been able to have access to them before. Now we're putting that thing in our body. It's going to be a problem for our body. Our body's going to be like, I don't know who you are. You got invited to the party, and I got to throw you out.
Yeah, speaking of parties, I think P. Diddy misunderstood the assignment because he got involved in baby oil. I think he totally misunderstood the assignment.
No.
Oh, it was my...
No comment.
Okay.
Well, on that note, Aaron, quick closing thought.
Yeah, the fact that highly processed, chemically unstable seed oils are in our food and it's prone to oxidization, creating compounds like aldehyde, creating inflammation, ties right back to the original conversation, which is we need to have free radicals and antioxidants. So yeah, let's look at what we're eating. Let's look at this surgically with a very discerning eye, and let's protect our health because it's a temple.
So go step outside barefoot, subscribe to Faith, Family, Fitness, Freedom on YouTube and Rumble, and join us next Saturday at 9 a.m. as well. God bless.
Peace.